What's going on, Geminites? GemMint here, and man, what a great week for comics. So you know how we do it at the end of each week. We count down our top 10 favorite books, along with my co-host, Rockin Robbie.
Yo, what's up, Jim Cowabunga? What a great week for comics, and plus, I'm super excited that you finally checked out Stray Dogs. What an awesome book, and I'm ready to party!
Robbie got TMNT on the brain. Before we jump into this, guys, if you're digging our videos, hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a video. We got a big giveaway going on for our next subscriber milestone of 150K. Hang around to the end. I'll give you all the details on how that's going to go down. Now, as always, these videos do contain full spoilers, so if you haven't read these books, if you don't want to get spoiled, be warned now. And we're going to start with number 10, which actually, we both had the same number 10 with Darkhawk issue 1.
Yeah, totally, dude. It's such an esteemed privilege to be on our top 10, especially tied at number 10. Darkhawk number 1 was really good. I was nervous about it. I grew up a big fan of the character. I was like 11 or 12 when the book first debuted, and I loved that character, especially when he joined the New Warriors. I loved the costume. I loved just everything about it. And he was like a teenager, and that's what I wanted to be. I was like, I wanted to be cool and hip like Darkhawk, and that's how sad that was. But anyway, this new one was pretty cool. So even though it is a new character, they introduced that character to me. I was engaged on an emotional level and on just a superficial superhero level. They didn't dwell too long on human stuff. They kind of ramped up into some superhero action. I loved it. It took me completely by surprise that I liked it so much.
Robbie, you are cool and hip. Yeah, I thought this was a great origin story for this new Darkhawk. Kyle Higgins, he flexes those emotional panels that he's able to construct, and you really get invested into this teenage character, this high school athlete who's going to go pro in the NBA until he finds out that he has MS, and his world gets flipped upside down while he simultaneously finds this crystal that transforms him into Darkhawk. I like the other strings that he's playing with these people that are committing robberies with high-tech weaponry. Turns out to be his little kid brother that we get introduced earlier. So he did spend like 80% kind of delving into this character's life and like 20% with the Darkhawk stuff. So I'm interested to see where it goes. He seems to do a good job with space costume characters that are head to toe. You know what I'm trying to... It's Power Rangers again.
I'm telling you what, when the yellow Darkhawk and the blue Darkhawk and it just keeps going, and like maybe then I'll tune out. But I was into it, and even though we did get that 20% of the Darkhawk stuff, I was actually surprised that they did that. This is like a 5 or 6 issue series, and you kind of figured the way they pace them out nowadays that they would have taken a while to get to that. But I like the energy once that happens. I thought the art in the book was okay. Kyle Higgins did a great job, like you said, with that emotional level. Like, I cared about this kid. It kind of feels like High School Musical meets Darkhawk, and I really mean that as a compliment. So I liked it.
Yeah, for sure. Well deserved for a spot on this list. Now, moving on to number 9, I went with Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 2. I really enjoyed this issue. I mean, I like Tom Taylor. All of the stuff that I read from him, I've really enjoyed. I thought it was cool. I mean, you have Jonathan Kent. He's trying to come up with an alias so that he can go to school and be a regular person, and that lasts for like 2 seconds. He gets to school, and like the school shooter comes and he saves him. Paneling was awesome, kind of showing him duck, dodge, dip, dive, and dodge through the bullets and saving the school. And it gets emotional as well with this one. He goes to the moon. He's kind of down on himself. Nothing is right, and has a talk with his father. And we get some revelations about Superman. How come Superman just puts out fires and saves people, but doesn't make lasting change? And Tom Taylor kind of puts it in perspective, like, look, I'm not from here. I can't come here and be this tyrant and change everything, but you were born here. This is your planet. This is on you. I might be going away, and we know he goes to War World, as we've seen in Future State, and this is why or how Jonathan Kent becomes the new Superman. So I thought this was a great issue. I thought that the art style was great. It was nice. It felt good, and the emotionals. A lot of the emotional books are getting to me lately.
Yeah, I'm really like, well, we are getting older, Jim. But I'll tell you what, I thought this issue was all right. There are moments of it I loved. Some of the superheroic moments I thought were really cool. The whole bit, though, where he's talking to Clark and he's like, why don't you do lasting change? That whole bit that kind of bothered me because, no, Superman actually has tried to do that. He's tried to cure poverty and hunger and things, and it just doesn't work. People can't just have one person come in and do it for them, right? So that's the little bit of the quirks that I don't like about what's going on here, where it just feels more like the thematic nature that Tom Taylor's trying to put into the forefront of the book is too in the forefront, literally just explaining, why this, and this. These are the themes of the book. And I just wish it could be a little bit more subtle, like Jonathan finds out a different way to do it just organically, naturally, not with the whole bunch of vocalizing or whatnot, but still a pretty solid book. And for the most part, I kind of liked it. For my number 9, I'm going The Department of Truth, number 12. Loved it because there wasn't pages and pages of dark, dirty journal entries that I had to sit there and try to figure out how to read it. I loved it. There, of course, are walls of text. That's just what you're going to get from James Tynan's Department of Truth, but you're going to get this very elaborate, visceral, cutting-edge artwork that this book, and I've said this before, it's like razor sharp. Like, when you read it, you feel like it could totally cut your fingers or your brain. Like, there's something so just gritty and visceral and guttural about the artwork in the book, and I really feel that it really takes the subject matter and makes it even more dark and dour and interesting and complex. I love this book. It breeds complexity for me, and I love the entire format. This one's getting into the reptilian type stuff. It's getting into the idea of the biblical locusts that are the black helicopters. It's pulling no stone unturned. It's leaving no stone unturned when it comes to the conspiracy theory worlds, and it's done in an excellent way. And this was a big turning point for the issue, where Cole has found out once again, like he does every issue, that it's not all that it seems.
Yeah, it may not have pages of journals, but it's pages and pages of this scattered art with narration. But I can see why you like it. To me, it was a little too complex. It didn't make my top 10. I more enjoyed the Sasquatch stuff, funny enough. This one, I was a little bit lost, a little confused. I know that it's kind of tying everything back to Agent Cole's childhood and the devil and this creature that he sees, and digging into with the black copters and more kind of conspiracy stuff. But yeah, I can see why some like it. I just didn't really love this issue. My number 8, I went with Thor 16 by Donny Cates. Now, every time Thor comes out, I typically give it my pick of the week. This one wasn't strong enough for me. I really love how he revisited that kind of nightmare sequence of Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet hammer and him bashing Thor in the face with it. Thor keeps having this dream about it. Thor was really out of character, and I saw another video today, somebody describing the fact that he doesn't want to talk about it, and that's why he's kind of acting like this, acting funny. Hey, let's get hot dogs. Hey, trying to get his mind off of it. He's really scared. He's shook. Ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. But the kind of the end was a nice hook as well. His mother showing up with his sister Angela. So we're going to see where that thread goes. I could see Donny Cates wanting to play with the Angela character, him growing up reading Spawn, him working with McFarlane now on Spawn stuff. But it was a fun issue. I enjoyed it. The beginning and ends were dope. The middle, it was a little out of character, but it was still good for me.
Yeah, I actually like this issue of Thor, not as much as I have previous issues, and I actually liked it more than I liked the previous issue, which was number 15, but this story's a little bit slower, and I think Thor's been acting out of character for a while. Maybe there's some kind of a plan as to why that's happening, but I'm just not completely invested in the Thor book like I was in the beginning, or like I was throughout most of his Venom run. It's got some cool bits, but it's got some bits that just, like, the whole thing where he's getting the hot dog and he's trying to talk like a New Yorker, like, I don't know. That was a weird stretch. My number 8, though, Strange Academy, number 12. This is one of Marvel's best and most finest books out there, written by Scotty Young with artwork by Humberto Ramos, and Ramos has done 12 consecutive issues. He hasn't missed a beat. The artwork has always been clean, it's always been tight, it's always been dynamic, and the story as well. So it's a kind of like the Hogwarts. It's like Harry Potter meets the Marvel Universe, right? And it's this Doctor Strange school for wizards or whatnot. But it's all these different characters pulled from different elements and corners of the mystical Marvel universe, characters that typically I wouldn't care about, but I do. I'm invested in them. The way it's written, this is the book that Teen Titans Academy wishes it was. It's built up on compelling drama and emotion. It doesn't get too teeny and kidsy, even though it does operate as an all-ages book. I love it. Some great characters, some great stories, and a big slam bang, fantastic and emotional finale for this arc, and I cannot wait to see more from this book.
You know, I interviewed Humberto on the channel along with Comic Tom, and he made it seem like this is his thing. Like, he's in a financial place where he doesn't really have to do anything else, and it sounds like he's committed to this book. I could see him and Scotty doing this until it ends. My number 7, I went with Batman Reptilian, issue 3, Garth Ennis, Liam Sharp. I love it. I'm a huge fan of comic book painters, first of all. Joe Jusko got me into the hobby. Alex Ross, Gabriel Del Otto, Avi Granade, and Liam Sharp is up there. I mean, sometimes it's a little abstract, not as much as Department of Truth, but I love his painting style. And then you have Garth Ennis with this dark story. It's basically just down to Batman and Joker. Joker thinks that Batman is the one behind all of his enemies being killed and torn apart. I mean, it makes sense. Who does it benefit? How convenient is it that all of your enemies are being destroyed or killed, but they're not going to get me? So this kind of thing with Joker and Batman, and Joker seemingly gets got here. He's like, oh, that snarling is really primal. I love it. And Batman's all like, that ain't me, bro. So I like the story. It's dark. Just like the art style is very dark and gloomy, and you're looking through shadows. I love the Michael Keaton type of inspiration for the Batman cowl. I just really am digging this series.
Man, I really liked this issue. I've been liking each issue more and more once I get more of the idea of what's going on. The artwork does get a bit too dark and murky for me at times. I love Liam Sharp, and if you're digging his work here, you might want to check out the Grant Morrison Green Lantern run, because Liam Sharp did the artwork there, and I've always said that if anybody paints a badass scene on a van that I'm going to drive around town, I want Liam Sharp to do it in airbrush, straight up 70s style, like heavy metal chick with a sword or something like that. But it's a really cool book. It's visceral. It's fun. I love how Batman doesn't care so much about his villains. You know what I'm saying? Like the way he treats them, the way he talks to them, that's really cool. I do like the artwork. It could just be a little bit more poppy, like elements of it, but it does give me that dark Dave McKean, Bill Sienkiewicz type vibe. This was a great issue, really cool, and it was nice to see the Joker finally not just be, you know, I've got the answers to everything. This dude is scared, he is shook, and then he is got. By the end of this, I loved it. I thought it was a really strong issue. For my number 7, I'm going Something is Killing the Children, number 19. James Tynion is back with Werther Della and Miguel Muertos for, once again, another great issue of Something is Killing the Children. Last time we saw, we're going back into the history of Erica, how she became involved in the House of Slaughter. She has to go into this trial where they lock her in this room with the monster that she first confronted. She has to relive that experience, but she actually gets it together. It's very mental, but it takes a physical toll, and everybody writes her off. And I loved in that last issue, we both talked about this, how even though we knew that Erica was going to make it through, the way the story was crafted, it made us feel threatened for her, like she wouldn't. Same thing here. We know she's going to make it through, but when she finally starts rising to the challenge and taking that monster out with words, with power, man, I loved it. This book is always great.
Yeah, man, it's like you're rooting for her every time you're turning that page and you just want to see her overcome. This is higher on my list, so I'll save my thoughts for then. Jumping into my number 6, I went with Detective Comics, issue 1042. I love this whole run. I have a lot of people in my comments saying that they don't like this run. Some people say they love it. I'm on the side that loves it. Batman possessed by this vile creature. The art style on this was almost up there with Liam Sharp, but just not painted. The line work was so Jim Lee comic booky, but then the coloring with the glowing green eyes and the green monster coming out of his mouth, the monster coming out of vile midair and Huntress taking it down like Alien and a xenomorph. Super dope. Wrapped up this arc. I love this arc. I think this is going to make for a great collected edition. The Worth stuff and the Vile stuff. I just thought it was just dope all around.
Yeah, I like this issue. I thought Bogdanovic did a really good job. Typically, I'm down on his issues and really up on the Dan Mora ones, and I do think that Dan Mora is the better penciler between the two of them, but I thought that Victor did a really good job with this issue. The only thing I'm still not liking is Worth. Why is this random rich dude able to pick up Batman and just throw him around? I don't care what he's possessed with this week. And it was cool to see like Cthulhu Batman. That was pretty neat. For my number 6, I'm going to Robin. Number 5, this book was awesome and probably the best Robin book yet. Like, not of all time, but of this run. Josh Williamson knows and understands this character. It's basically Damian Wayne in Mortal Kombat, but we're still waiting for the real Mortal Kombat to start. That, of course, happens at the end in a really great moment, but all the stuff building up to this. He's being chased by all the previous Robins, Stephanie Brown, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Dick Grayson, and it's nice. It's a nice, fun, free and loose issue that then hits such an emotional core. Here we are with the emotions again, Jim, but this was the first time, and I know it's not the first time that it's been mentioned, but this was finally the moment we needed to see Damian's, how he's dealing with the death of Alfred. Alfred died in front of him, and to have that touching moment between him and Dick Grayson, I thought that was amazingly brilliant. It was the moment that we've waited over a year for, way too long. It makes Damian make sense with what's going on right now, and yeah, you could have put a lot of that together, but seeing it on page from Dick Grayson, because I love that one moment, he goes, yeah, we've all been Robins, but you were my only Robin. That was really touching. That was great. I'm totally pumped for the rest of this series.
We're 30-something-year-old guys, man. We just want to feel something. That's a little bit higher on my list. We're going to go into number 5 with Alien issue 6. I loved the finale of this arc. I love how they're kind of delving into the mythos of the aliens and the xenomorphs, and the fact that the human race wasn't the only race. There were races before us that the aliens have kind of cleaned out. Like, that's their purpose. And you have this kind of like smarter alien xenomorph woman that this guy's seeing visions of. I don't know. I just thought the explanation was super dope. I love kind of learning more about the history or the mythologies of a franchise like this and how it kind of adds to a movie. I'm not sure how you felt about that, but I thought that was super cool. I like the art style. I like the big monstrous xenomorph on the hull outside of the ship, which always happens in alien movies, right? When you think you're getting away, the alien's really on the outside of the ship. And I don't know. I just had a lot of fun with it. I like the writing. I like the interiors, and I love the In-Hyuk Lee covers.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling Alien right now. I want to. I really love those movies. Well, I love most of those movies. Well, I love a decent percentage of those movies, but this book's just not doing too much for me. I love the idea of the evolution and what it evolves into, but the artwork to me just feels a little bit stiff sometimes. It doesn't feel like truly horrific. It could be darker. It could just be, I mean, like Liam Sharp would be really good on an Alien book, wouldn't he? But it's just not doing too much for me. So I do plan on sticking with it, but I think I'm just going to omnibus weight it. So it might be a while. But for my number 5, I'm going Spider-Man Life Story, the annual. We're getting a Life Story Spider-Man annual by Chip Zdarsky, by Mark Bagley, by that same creative team. And it's all about J. Jonah Jameson. I'm in. So back in the day, J. Jonah Jameson was responsible for the creation of Scorpion and then all the Spider Slayer stuff, right? He has to pay real consequences, and he winds up going to jail in the world of Life Story, in which Spider-Man becomes Spider-Man at 61 and then ages through the years normally, but we still have the same story points being hit. So this is all about J. Jonah Jameson in prison for decades and learning after a very long time on a very slow road of recovery why Spider-Man's not the threat, why he hates masked vigilantes, all of this stuff. I mean, it's an excellently done issue. Mark Bagley being able to I feel like he was able to take a little bit more time. That emotion comes through. It's an emotional story that's really well done. It's got superhero type stuff in it, but man, I loved it, and I thought it was one of the best single issue stories focusing on J. Jonah Jameson I have ever read.
I think it's pretty obvious if you saw my new comic book day reviews or the thumbnail on this video what my thoughts are on Spider-Man Life Story Annual, so we'll get to that. But before we get into number 4, me talking about Robin issue 5, a lot of times people ask me about these collected editions behind me. Where can they buy the omnibus? Where can they get trade paperbacks and graphic novels? Well, here's a quick word from our sponsor. Cheap Graphic Novels is your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They pride themselves on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain bin for even greater deals up to 90% off cover price. CGN is excited to announce that they're now taking pre-orders. They're making it easier for you to ensure that you don't miss out on the hottest releases. Cheap Graphic Novels is currently running a special promotion for the Geminites. If you're a first-time customer, let them know that you were referred by Mint Collectibles at checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. This promotion is only valid for the United States. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts and quality shipping and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. All right, guys, now on to Robin 5. Absolutely love this issue. And what's funny is in this Mortal Kombat themed run, my favorite issue was the one that had nothing to do with the tournament. I love, Damian Wayne being taken by Ra's al Ghul, trying to talk him out of the tournament, the Bat family trying to talk him out of the tournament, and having this rooftop chase. Everybody's trying to, hey, catch me if you can with Damian Wayne. And yeah, he has two interactions, one with Jason Todd where he uses emotion to get the best of Jason Todd, and then that final one with Dick Grayson. And yeah, man, he was Robin while Dick Grayson was Batman, and like he touches him with that. I mean, maybe that's not the right phrase, but anyway, it was a great interaction with family. He gives him a weapon to use. He kind of lets him go, but makes it look like he got away. But the rest of the Bat family knows. They're like, yeah, really, he got away? Come on now. I just thought that was so touching, and it was a great issue, man. I think that's more important than just the fighting and stuff like that. Like, if you can make those emotional connections and make us care about characters, that's the stuff that resonates with me. And yeah, now he's back on the League of Lazarus Island, and they're going to have the tournament next issue, it looks like. Excited to see where that went, but I really enjoyed the interaction between Damian Wayne and the rest of the Bat family.
It's like the great Smokey Robinson always said, I second that emotion. For my number 4, I'm going Barbaric number 3 from Vault Comics, written by Michael Morisi with artwork by Nathan Gooden, coloring by Addison Duke and Jim Campbell on the lettering. From Vault Comics, I love this book. It's about Owen the Barbarian. We've talked about it before. He is an immortal, but when he dies, he will go to hell. So he wants to stay alive as long as possible, and he will continue to stay alive as long as possible, as long as he always helps those that need help. And he's guided by his talking axe, named Axe, who drinks the blood of the victims and gets drunk. And this one was wild. It was fun. It's the end of book 1, and it may seem weird that it ends at issue 3, but all of these issues, if you notice, have been extra-sized at no additional cost. This is still a $3.99 issue, but there's a lot of extra pages. This is going to make a nice, meaty graphic novel, and there is more coming on. This is going to be a series of miniseries and one-shots, kind of in the vein of like Hellboy, and this issue does a great job of wrapping up that first arc, kind of like the first several episodes of Cowboy Bebop or something, of like introducing these characters slowly, making it work and gel, and then setting up the direction of the series. This had some amazing action. It had some beautiful artwork, great coloring and composition, and just really boisterously funny and right on scripting by Michael Morisi. I love the setup, and I am just down for this book for the next 30 years. I don't want it to end. Just keep them coming, Vault. Let's do it.
I dug Barbaric. I liked issue 3 like I liked issue 1. I felt like issue 2 had a little bit of a lull, but yeah, if you think about this as a graphic novel, then you're just kind of like, you know what I'm saying, the ebbs and flows, and I think it flowed really well. I like how they ended this arc. I like the Owen character. I like the witch character. She's probably the most relatable one out of the bunch, and then you have the Axe, which is the gory, violent comic relief. I dig it. I like this series a lot. It didn't make my top 10, but it's probably like number 11. Moving on to number 3 is Something is Killing the Children 19. You talked about it. I loved it. I think I liked this second wave, this second arc, better than I did the first. I liked how they kind of showed the hazing that goes on in the House of Slaughter, how these older kids are kind of, tormenting this younger kid. But when the white mask comes in, everybody falls in line. Then Erica, she's facing the monster, and she's in the monster's mind, essentially. And it was a little cliche, but one of those things where mind over matter. Hey, this isn't real. The monster's trying to portray different events that happen, like she can save the parents and get her lost in her mind, but she's powerful enough to know what's real and what's not, and fights her way through it. And I can't wait to next issue, because everyone's gonna see that she defeated this monster, which is not the same type of monster that most of these people had to battle. She kind of had to fight a full-blown big-ass monster, and I think she's going to be running the House of Slaughter after she gets out of this trial. So man, digging it. And I really like what Tynion's doing with the writing. I mean, he's really letting the pages breathe, right, Robbie? Like, he'll have pages of straight artwork with no dialogue, but it's paced so well where you're just kind of like breezing through it, wanting to see what happens next, keeping you interested.
You know, there were 2 complaints I was getting at the shops this week. One was Something is Killing the Children didn't take long enough to read. And the other one was Department of Truth takes too long to read. I'll tell you what, though, Tynan knows what he's doing. They came out the same day. You read both of them together, and it's like the same amount of time to read 2 normal comic books. I loved it. I love that he's allowing the artwork to tell a lot of the story. It's different than what we usually see from Tynan. He kind of utilizes that technique a little bit in Wind, as well, his young adult fantasy book, but you know, he's not doing that in Department of Truth. He ain't doing that in The Nice House on the Lake, but that's something that's showing why he is such a great writer right now, is because his style is as diverse as the stories that he likes to tell. I'm moving into number 3. I'm going with Superman 78, number 1. Wow. Just wow. This was the best Superman comic book I have read since, like, before Bendis came on. Like, and I'm digging what Philip Kennedy Johnson's doing. I think this issue of Action Comics this week was pretty solid, but this was just great, classic Superman. Of course, it's attached to the Richard Donner 1978 film, and the characters look like that. The characters act like that. The pacing is top-notch. The coloring, everything threw me back to that world. A simpler time, maybe, but it's a time where you just build a story, you introduce a villain, in this case, Brainiac, the villain we always should have gotten in a Christopher Reeve Superman film, right? And you just make a good, classic, solid action Superman book that resonated. I freaking loved it. They hit all the nostalgia. I thought this was a little bit better than Batman 89. I thought it was actually way better than Batman 89 at getting us right back into that world, recognizing the voices of these characters. I was shocked by this book. It's like literally the best Superman book I've read in years. Thanks, Bendis.
Yeah, this is actually my number 2, and I didn't grow up with the Christopher Reeve Superman. I wasn't even really a big fan of it, and you don't necessarily have to know that world to enjoy this comic, but yeah, it's set in a simpler time. I think it's a refreshing book, from the art style to the way that the dialogue is, to the interactions between our characters and even side characters, and then to get Brainiac into this world as the villain. It's super fun. I thought it was also way better than Batman 89. It just felt like, I think most people, it's like unanimous when I see reviews on this book. Most people agree that this was a super fun, refreshing issue. It wasn't too goofy. It wasn't too serious. It was like just right.
Oh yeah, it's totally in that Goldilocks zone of just right. My number 2 is Echoland's number 1 from Image Comics. This book blew me away. There's nothing inherent about the story. There wasn't anything complex about the story. It's about this thief. She's like a Little Red Riding Hood type character who happens to steal. She's a thief, right? She steals the wrong gem from the wrong, not you, right? But the wrong like gemstone from the wrong bad guy or something. And now it's going to go and develop further than that. But what's amazing about this book is the artwork. And I'm talking about the line work, the coloring, and the lettering. Because J.H. Williams, one of the best comic book artists there has ever been, Dave Stewart, one of the best colorists there's ever been, and Todd Klein, one of the best letterers we've ever been. I just wish we could have got a better scripter on there, but the book is in a panoramic type thing, so you have to flip the book around and you open it long ways, but it freaking works. This book has to be told this way. It's like got this epic scope because of it. J.H. Williams, you'll know from books like Promethea. You'll know him from some of Grant Morrison's Batman run. The work is absolutely fantastic, intricate, detailed, complex, beautiful, organic. It flows, the visual flow of each page and the way that he utilizes that format. It's incredibly innovative. It's experimental, but at the same time, it's soaring. I read tons of comics that do this trick where you have to flip the book around and read it the other way. And they usually lack style and they usually just feel like a gimmick. Not this one. I just don't think there was another way this book could have been done. This book was amazing. It was a visual feast. There's a 2-page spread of just 3 heads exploding. Bruh, you know me. I ate that shit up. I loved it.
Yeah, you know what's funny about this is that in my new comic book day reviews, I compared the art style to Promethea, and Robbie's like, that's the same artist, right? I totally didn't even remember that, but now thinking about it, yeah, J.H. Williams, I remember seeing that on the Absolutes that I own for Promethea. But this is like way more detailed than Promethea. It's the same type of flowing art style, and I didn't even know that this was like a horizontal comic because I read it digitally. I thought it was just double page spreads, but when I saw Robbie's video, I was like, oh man, the whole thing is sideways, which makes even more sense. Yeah, beautifully done pages. Again, the story, I don't even really remember what happened. I know that there was a girl in the red hood, there was like a girl in a black hood, she was a thief or something. But yeah, the exploding of the head was super cool, which also happened in Kingspawn, funny enough, which wasn't on our list. But yeah, I dug Echo Lands. It wasn't in my top 10, but definitely great art style. I might have appreciated it more if I had it in hand. On to number 1, guys. Spider-Man Life Story Annual 1, Chip Zdarsky. I love this. And I didn't even really love Spider-Man Life Story. To keep it real, I only really dug the first 2 or 3 issues. And when Spider-Man got older and then he was in space and all that stuff, I wasn't really feeling that. But I really like this. Let's go back to the 60s. But let's focus on J. Jonah Jameson. Let's talk about how he really did create Scorpion. Let's talk about how he became the Spider Slayer and did illegal stuff. And in this world, it catches up with him and he goes to jail for like decades. He spends all these decades in jail, and his hatred, his resentment for Spider-Man just builds up the entire time, man. It's so emotional, but he seems sick. Like, you feel for him, but you know he's wrong, right? Like, he's blaming all his troubles, all the problems in the world on Spider-Man. So many touching moments. Even when Peter Parker's wife, Gwen Stacy, in this world dies, he calls Peter Parker and immediately he's trying to get him to say something about Spider-Man for his memoirs. And Peter's like, dude, my wife just died. Like, really? You're still on that? It was crazy, emotional. The art style was good. It didn't matter. It really wasn't about that. It was more about telling the story of this old man who wasted his life on his obsession with Spider-Man. It was dope, man.
Hashtag emotional. I mean, seriously, these books really got to us this week, Gem, including my number 1. I'm going Ice Cream Man number 25. I loved this issue. It's an oversized celebratory issue. They got to 25. It's an anthology series. If you've never read an issue of Ice Cream Man, don't worry. You can pick up any issue. And it just tells a one-and-done, self-contained story. But there is this overarching idea of who is this Ice Cream Man figure? How does he show up in these people's lives? Why do things go crazy when he's introduced, right? The book is so weird and surreal, but at the same time, it's very direct and cerebral. It's trying to say something. Most of this issue is about a plane that's barreling down. It's about to go. The engine's out. It's got the pilots are in the cockpit. There's this sign that's flashing, catastrophic failure. They're like, what's that light supposed to mean? We don't know. They're like complete dullards, right? You got a dude in the cabin running back and forth. He's freaking out. He's like, oh my God, the plane's going down. What are we doing? Why is nobody else freaking out? Other people are acting like nothing bad is happening, like they're ignoring the problem. Other people are like, it doesn't matter if the plane's going down. Do you see what that person's doing? Like, and it's just such a great, I think, comment on society right now without being very obvious and vocalizing it like, say, Tom Taylor in Superman, Son of Kal-El. I freaking love this book. It's wild, it's weird, it's quirky. And then, as part of the oversizedness of this issue, you get a backup story in which they finally reveal just a little bit more information about this ongoing mythology. So don't be dissuaded when I say there is an ongoing mythology, because it's very rarely led to. In fact, at the end of the book, it even says, don't worry, this will be followed up on at some point down the road before we end it. Right? Like, they know that they take so much care and time in making this sickly sweet, bitter, hopeful, yet filled with despair type book that's such a great juxtaposition of emotions, of viewpoints, of perspectives. It's almost like an encapsulation of the human experience in the most weird, provocative, and just flamboyant kind of way possible. This book is just balls to the wall, awesome every single time. Oh, and King Spawn was dope. Just didn't make the top 10, but it was dope.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't just pick up issue 25 of Ice Cream Man. I feel like if it's an anthology series, I should be able to jump in. I read Haha. I enjoyed that. I'm slipping, man. I need to get the collected editions already. But yeah, those are the top 10 comics of the week. My picks, Robbie's picks, some overlapping stuff, some different stuff. But most importantly, we want to know what your picks were in the comments down below. I mentioned I got a big giveaway going on for our next subscriber milestone of 150K. We're giving away this Deja Thor's premium format statue by Sideshow. And all you got to do is leave a like on this video, comment below, and be subscribed. Once I hit the milestone, we'll go live, pick a random video where I promoted the giveaway, and use a random YouTube comment generator to draw a worldwide winner. Robbie, let them know what you got going on over there at PCP.
That's right, everybody. Pop. Check us out at Pop Culture Philosophers. We're super excited because this Friday, September 3rd, 2021, we are launching Horror Fest. It is one of our favorite times of the year. Every Friday night, you're going to get a classic horror film reviewed. Every Saturday night over at Dylan's Horror Show, you're going to get a classic, semi-classic horror movie reviewed, and we're all going to kick it off on September 3rd, Friday night at 9 p.m. Central Time with all 10 Hellraiser films. I'm ready for it. Are you? I hope you join us.
We have such sights to show you.
And don't go anywhere, guys. We got a ton of other videos to catch up on. Check out our last week's top 10 comics in case you missed it. My new comic book day reviews from this week if you want to see everything that I read, except I forgot to talk about Cable Unloaded. And make sure to subscribe to both channels. Stay minty fresh, y'all. Peace.